Today, we're going to put a tiny piece of fiction under the microscope. We're going to see how it packs such a massive emotional punch in so few words. In this explainer, we are deconstructing a story that spans years, but is told in a flash.
So think about it for a second. 4 years. That's a huge amount of time, right? It's filled with all those missed calls, those heartbreaking goodbyes at the airport, the excitement of reunions. How on earth do you bottle all of that up into a story that actually works? It's a massive creative challenge.
And here's the kicker, the thing that makes this story so amazing. It does it all in just 600 words. That's it. And that constraint, that tiny little box, is what forces every single word to pull an incredible amount of weight. Okay, so let's jump in right where the story does, with the goodbye. It's right after high school graduation, and our couple, Finn and Rachel, are facing a long separation. But, they're full of hope, they're armed with a ton of optimism, and a very specific set of promises.
See, the magic here is all in the details. They don't just say, oh, we'll keep in touch. No. They basically create a contract with each other. Every day, 3 times a week. These are hard and fast rules designed to fight off the distance. It just shows you how badly they want to make this work.
And they keep going. They're literally mapping out their future visits like they're stepping stones to get them across this huge ocean of time. Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, each one is like a little lighthouse in the distance. But, as you can probably guess, life had some other ideas.
This right here, this simple little table, captures the entire conflict of the story. On the left, you've got their perfectly built plan. And on the right, you've got the wrecking ball of reality. The flu, a blizzard, a job. These are such normal, relatable problems, and they just systematically tear down every single one of their hopes. So as we get into the middle of the story, the writer has to cover a ton of ground. We're talking 4 years of college, and this is where that initial shiny optimism really starts to wear thin, and you start to see the real price of being so far apart. This timeline just lays it all out for us, doesn't it? It crams their whole 4-year journey into one quick look. It kicks off with so much hope, but then it dives into that communication breakdown. It hits a real low point where their own personal dreams start to clash, and then something shifts. The author manages to show all these huge changes in just a couple of lines. It's incredible. This line is just a perfect example of showing, not telling. Remember that super detailed contract they made at the beginning? Well, this one sentence shows its complete and total collapse. Replies days apart. Ugh. If you've ever been in a long-distance relationship, you feel that line right in your gut. It's a real gut punch. And this exchange, wow. It's so simple, but so heartbreaking. He's trying to be the supportive boyfriend, right? Live the dream. But her answer, it's only half the dream, just reveals everything. It tells you that all her success feels empty without him there to share it. They're chasing their own futures, but it's costing them their present. And here it is, the absolute lowest point. This isn't just a missed call or a late text. This is a big gesture, a whole planned reunion, just completely imploding at the very last second. You can just feel her raw shock, actually being at the airport, waiting for a plane that's not coming. You honestly feel like, okay, this is probably it, they're done. But just as we hit rock bottom, the story just yanks the rug out from under us. The author pulls off this classic bait and switch, turning what felt like the absolute end into the setup for a truly incredible finale. And suddenly, we're in on a secret. That missed flight, it wasn't a screw-up. It was all part of a much bigger plan. This line, which is Finn talking to his brother Kurt, just changes everything we thought we knew. He wasn't forgetting her. He was planning the whole shebang all along. And that list, tucks, flowers, Tiffany backs, it just builds the excitement perfectly. And boom, 2 little words. He's not at some airport hundreds of miles away. He's standing right there at her door. After years of talking through screens and missing each other, his actual physical presence is the ultimate payoff. It's so simple, so powerful, and just a deeply satisfying twist. And there it is, the big payoff. After all that heartbreak, all that distance, the story delivers this huge emotional peak. He gets down on one knee, and that word, forever, the one they promised each other as kids, it finally becomes real. Okay, so we've been on the emotional journey, But now it's time for the really cool part. Why 600 words? Well, it turns out that number wasn't just pulled out of a hat. If you look at the author's notes, there's this whole hidden layer that makes the story even more brilliant. So what's the secret sauce here? The emotion is one thing, for sure, but the real genius of this story is kind of hidden in its architecture. And that number, 600, it's the key that unlocks the whole thing. And this is where it all clicks into place. This is just so clever. The number 600 isn't just a word count. It is woven into the DNA of this story. It represents their past, 600 days together. It's their present struggle, 600 miles apart. It's the effort they put in, 600 phone calls. And it's the plan for their future, 600 hours to get that proposal just right. And finally, it's the container for the story itself. It's an incredible piece of structural art. But wait, there's one more layer. The author even connects the number to this spiritual idea, the angel number 600. It's all about trusting the process, about believing that things will work out. And that adds this whole other level of meaning, suggesting their journey wasn't just a struggle. It was a path they were meant to be on. And I just love this. The author ends their notes with this playful little question. It's like a confident little wink to the reader, acknowledging all the thought that went into this tiny but mighty story. And you know what? The answer is yes. Yes, it is definitely Finchel enough. So what can we take away from all this? First, that sometimes having limits, like a 600-word count, can actually make you more creative. Second, it proves that in short fiction, every single word has to earn its place. Third, you don't need hundreds of pages to create emotion. You just need a few perfectly chosen moments. And finally, a hidden structure, like this whole 600 thing, can add these amazing new layers for the reader to discover. When you get right down to it, this story isn't just about Finn and Rachel. It's a testament to the idea that a real connection can survive almost anything. Those 600 miles that kept them apart were just a number. Forever was the only one that really mattered in the end. And that leaves us with one final thought. We tend to look at limits and constraints as bad things, as obstacles. But after breaking down how this story was built, it kind of makes you wonder, right? What if that big limitation you're dealing with right now isn't a wall? What if it's actually a doorway to your best work yet?